were young, breaking every rule they made. I never changed what we done. It made us who we are today. I'm taking every chance I get to make us who you won't forget. Who we are, who we are.
I have known Shelby since fall of 2009, and I met her on the third day of sorority rush after about 900 people threatening my life and my involvement in Zeta if I messed it up because everyone was so obsessed with her. And I immediately fell in love with her. Luckily, she didn't hate me either since she joined and became my little. So
I met Shelby 7 years ago at sorority recruitment when I was super mad that there was going to be another Shelby in our sorority, but then I met her and I wanted her to become my best friend.
I have known Casey since 2nd grade, and we met in Miss Reagan's class.
I've known Shelby for 7 years now, and we met through Zeta, our sorority.
Probably first started hearing about each other maybe at like 10. We really got close, probably JV year, I guess our sophomore year of baseball.
We met, I think we were at one of the fraternity houses. It was during lunch, during sorority rush, and we're both getting that crappy food, and we kind of saw each other from across the room. We're like, oh, she's cute. And so we sat together, and it was love from there.
I've known Casey for 15 years. We had a class in 4th grade together.
So I've known Shelby since 2009 when we first went into school, so I guess that was like 7 years ago now.
How long have I known Casey? I probably met him junior year of college, something like that, probably like 3-4 years ago. I was friends with a mutual friend of ours, Travis, and started to hang out with him a little bit, and one day he brought me by the slums that they lived in, and kind of got in some of their ruckus. And I guess it's like drugs. I was pretty addicted to the madness, so I started to come around a little more often, and here we are.
I've known Casey for probably more than 10 years. We met in middle school playing football together.
I guess I don't even really know how many years me and Shelby know each other, but definitely ever since I joined Zeta, me and Shelby were sorority sisters at Georgia Tech, and we both studied biomedical engineering, so that's kind of how we got to know each other. And then how we really got to know each other was when we studied abroad together in Australia.
I met Shelby 6-7 years ago, our first year at Zeta. She's my big sister, and she took me under her wing from like week 2.
So I've known Shelby since I was 5 years old, so we've known each other for almost 20 years now. We met, both of our families were one of the first to move into our neighborhood. So by default, we were some of the only children there, and we met one day and became best friends ever since.
When Shelby was growing up, what she was like, she was energetic in my mind. She was into everything because she loved doing everything. She had an easel and she used to paint. She took ballet lessons. She took piano lessons. She was on the swim team. She was on the tennis team. She was full of friends and energy. She just loved participating and trying and experiencing everything until she found out what it was she truly loved.
What was Casey like growing up? I would say that there was a few things that he really enjoyed doing. One was playing sports. He always had to have a ball in his hand, whether it was football, baseball, soccer, basketball, it didn't matter. He enjoyed doing that. He enjoyed doing that with all his buddies in the neighborhood. They were always hanging out, playing sports, having fun in the neighborhood. And I'd say another thing that he enjoyed was, with the same group of buddies, is making videos of, in my book, crazy stuff, but fun stuff, I guess.
When Shelby was a little girl growing up, she was a real social butterfly. I remember she had this pink Barbie Jeep, And she would get into her little pink Barbie Jeep and drive down to the neighbor's house, visit her friend, little Caitlin, and she would spend the day with her, then get back in, and she would drive it. And it was such a cute experience.
A funny story that I remember of Casey and I, oh, there's a lot. I would say the one, I think we were in middle school, and one summer when the houses in our neighborhood were still being built, we decided to go and snoop around in one, and we ended up vandalizing the house. And you know, while some of our friends got some spanks, we were not able to go trick-or-treating that year as our punishment. And let me tell you, it was sad. That was a bad punishment at the age.
What it was like to be Shelby's brother growing up with her. It was entertaining. It was always fun. You know, Shelby, we all know how smart she is and how hard she works, but you know, those of us that know her best, we all know how much of a goofball she is. And she's always having a good time, likes to smile, likes to laugh. So it was always so fun, always something to do, whether it was us going to like Six Flags when I got my license to drive. You know, we'd go over there in the summertime and go have some fun, or, you know, go play tennis. But she was always a handful to have fun with, you know.
When we were younger, I was probably like 9, he was probably like 13 or 12. And it was just us some night because Dad was working later on a trip and Alex was supposed to be watching us, but she wasn't there or something, and we didn't have any dinner plans, so and neither of us could drive yet, so instead we just like got a big bag of croutons. I think they were like garlic flavored or something, and we ate that for dinner while watching TV.
So my favorite funny story about me and Shelby was right early on in our relationship, so I don't think I've ever made fun of her for it, but when I rushed her, it was skip day, and I was dressed up as a Charlie's Angel from the 70s, and I was wearing like this awful gold sequins outfit, and I looked straight out of a really, really low budget Charlie's Angels film. And Shelby for like weeks was like, I can't wait to borrow that outfit, it was so cute. And I was like, does this girl not know it was a costume? Like, that's not something that anybody wears. And I always was like, oh, I borrowed it, I don't know where it is, I'm so sorry. But I was always like concerned a little bit about what I'd gotten myself into because she really wanted to borrow that outfit. Her style has gotten a lot better since 2009.
A funny story that me and Casey have together. Casey lived with me and Luke for, I guess maybe 2 years we lived together. And there was one night, Luke had already went to bed. I was sitting up enjoying a couple Heinekens and watching Casey play this Batman game that he had. And he was trying to beat this specific level, and I watched him do the same thing probably 35 times in a row, unsuccessfully. And I just sat there and just watched him do it over and over again. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So that was a good story with him.
It was, I believe, Shelby's 21st birthday. She was wearing this really gorgeous white dress. We were pre-gaming at our place, and of course, Shelby is eating before we went out. That's the responsible thing to do. And sat down in Danielle's bed and sat on a plate of tacos. And so she had red all down her butt. It was hilarious, but also she blew it off like it was easy breezy, and Ashley got it out and she got the white dress out, and we partied and celebrated. It was funny though.
A funny story I had with Casey is we were sneaking out in 9th grade. Jody was asleep, I don't know why we just didn't walk down the stairs. But we decided to go through the 2nd story window, and Casey was the one that was supposed to hold me up. And the minute I let go of the roof, Casey dropped me, and I thought I broke my spine. But it was probably the only time Casey's ever let me down.
The funniest story with Casey, we have a lot, but the one that sticks out, we went to Las Vegas to visit our friend John Will before he got married. And we were at the pool hanging out. There's a baseball player on the Minnesota Twins, Brian Dozier. And Casey had just picked him up in a fantasy baseball league, so naturally his name went from Brian Dozier to Ben Dozier to Ben Dover. Just your classic joke that we think is funny. That's probably not. So Casey went up, we were just messing around in the pool, had been drinking a little bit, and Casey went up and said it to this guy, and he did not like it. He freaked out on Casey. I don't know if he was like a mafia boss or what, but he was Italian and he was scary. so we had to leave the pool because Casey goes, "Have you met my friend Ben Dover?" He goes, "You want me to bend over?" And Casey's like, immediately, we were both like, because we don't like that kind of conflict, we got the hell out of there. So it was pretty funny to see that, how it all came to be.
So one of my funniest stories with Casey was back when all of us were freshmen and everybody went off to school. Casey and I were the only ones left in Swanee. So we hung out every day after school. And so one day Casey came up with the idea to go to Kroger with a plastic bag filled with stuff from his pantry, and we tied the bag like a normal grocery bag, put it on the roof of my car and drove around the entire parking lot filming everybody trying to stop us. And people would stand in front of the car, people would yell at us like, "Oh, hey, you got something on your car?" And we just keep driving, and Casey filmed the entire thing. And that was probably the most fun that I've had with Casey ever.
Okay, so a funny story between me and Shelby I think it was day 3 of Rush, and we both were with one girl, and she was with Danielle actually, and I was with a girl named Kelly Pulsick, and they took us upstairs to a room, and I remember thinking like, this is such a fun little group, like this is gonna be so fun. And we got up there, and I didn't really know Shelby, but we kind of had just met a few days before, and I'm a very excited, like outgoing person, so I was thinking like, you know, this will be easy, we'll all get along, and I couldn't believe that there was somebody that could actually out-excite me on a conversation, and there was so much going on between the 4 of us, like I couldn't even keep up because Shelby was so excited and like was literally out-exciting me.
So a funny story I have with Casey was senior year in high school. Our football team was playing Pelham, and we all went there, and we were standing in the crowd. And the way it was set up was me, Casey, Luke, John, JR, all of us were in the front row. And we had a thing where when we scored, we ran up and down the track and just waving the North Gwinnett flag. So we scored the first touchdown of the game, and we all start jumping the fence, and we turn around and we see Casey getting up off the ground. And little did we know he had fallen a solid 8 or 9 feet just straight onto the track. And during halftime we were all checking our phones, and everyone had texted us, "Is Casey okay? Did he hurt himself? Does he need to go to the hospital?" And it was a classic story the entire ride back. That's all we talked about.
Okay, so one of my funniest stories with Shelby is something that she doesn't really still like to talk about, but was the time that we almost killed off the sea turtle population in Australia. So we were studying on this island called Heron Island, and it was a tiny research island where you could walk around in 30 minutes around the entire perimeter of the island. So we were allowed at night just to go, you know, walk around on the beach. So we were doing it, and there's no lights at all. It's for research, and so the turtles can come on and off the beach. So, you know, there we were just walking one night, and we see this turtle, you know, going really slow up, about to go lay its egg. So me and Shelby stop, and you know, we're waiting for 30 minutes, and you know, at this point the sea turtle's taking forever because you know how slow they are. So it's going up, and so we're like, all right, at this point, I think we can go walk behind it, right? And it won't notice us. So, you know, we get up, start walking around. I've never seen a turtle move so fast. I actually didn't even know they were capable of moving so fast. It hopped up, saw us, and then like ran back into the ocean. And then after that, me and Shelby were like, oh my God, I don't know if it's ever coming back. Is it ever gonna lay its eggs? And we were so freaked out. You know, we were just like, oh my God, we totally ruined this whole turtle population on the island. And so for a while, even when we went back, we were like, we can't tell anyone this story. It's all our fault. It may never come back. And so only until recently were we able to actually talk about it. So,
you know, a favorite memory of me and Shelby, it's hard to pick one out. But I think one of my favorite memories was we were down in New Orleans when I think this was the year 2000 when Florida State went to the national championship game. And we were along the side of the road. Shelby must have been 8 years old, and she just learned what a hokey was. And we were just talking smack to the fans of Virginia Tech, and she just ran up to someone. She goes, "You know you root for a castrated turkey, right?" It was just really funny.
I broke Shelby's favorite pillow. And I should have known, knowing Shelby, how much this would affect her, but I sat on it. I was so excited to be, she does her beds up and they're all beautiful and they're always just the most gorgeous white with the prettiest pillows. It's always obnoxiously big pillows. But I was so excited and I thought I was just being her jumpy little best friend, jumping on the bed, and the pillow broke. And it was this beautiful bow thing that just snapped in half. And her face, I thought she was never gonna speak to me again. She had to walk out of the room. I think she called somebody else to tell him she was gonna kill me. And I just felt so terrible because it was such a princess bed. I knew I would never be able to fix it. But you know what, she still loves me, so.
Well, with Shelby and Casey, after they had been dating a while, they had come on a trip with me to Florida to help move his grandmother back to Atlanta because she couldn't live by herself anymore. So she was struggling living by herself, and so we're heading back to Atlanta after one of those trips, and we had to stop at the rest area for her to use the restroom. So it kind of put me in a rough spot, you know. Rather than going in there and helping her out, Shelby stepped up to the plate and went in and helped her, and I really appreciated that. And I really thought that, for sure, that just kind of, that just convinced me that Shelby was a real keeper.
One of the funniest stories I have with both Shelby and Casey was one of the first times that Shelby and Casey got a little drunk for the first time. Shelby snuck me into her sorority formal somehow, and it was just me, and then Shelby and Casey were there. And if you've ever been around Shelby and Casey when they're a little bit buzzed, it's the funniest thing in the world. So we had a blast and danced all night, and it was one of my favorite nights with them.
I have a funny story of Casey. Casey hated to eat vegetables when he was young. And I remember having him over for dinner for the first time, and it was family dinner, and there was peas on the plate. And I had this rule at the house that you had to have a no thank you bite. Casey looked at Shelby, looked at me. We all nodded that you had to have it. I told him to take the peas with the mashed potatoes and he'll never taste them. And that young man really loved Shelby because he took that bite. And now he eats every vegetable you can imagine.
I think this catches the epitome of Casey. But one time we were on a vacation as a family, and we were in Hawaii. And we happened to be traveling with some very good friends of ours, and the friends of ours also had their children along. Well, the daughter, who happened to be Shelby's age, had brought her boyfriend along. And consequently, when Shelby tried to enjoy her friend's company, she was really a third wheel. It was very awkward for her. So we called Jody. Jody flew Casey out. So Casey came to join us, so now there's 5 of us in this hotel room. Casey joining us, sleeping on a rollaway, crammed into this beautiful room on the ocean. And what makes it funny to me is in the morning, we go out and we do all of our things and come back in, and Casey would have everything folded in neat little stacks, and he'd come in and change after being at the pool all day. He'd fold everything up, fold up his bathing suit, have it all in neat little stacks. And just won me over because I happen to be a little bit like that. I like things very neat, and it was absolutely perfect.
Every 3 days?
Never. Every other day if she's seeing people, every 4 days if she's not.
Every time we make fun of her for not shaving her knees.
Twice a week on a good week, right?
Every 2, maybe 3 days, but the real question is how often she washes her hair, which is less.
Every week, but probably washes her hair every 2 weeks.
When Casey tells her she stinks.
First and foremost, I'd say that Casey's first question is, what percent are you on? Which it doesn't matter what percentage you're on, he needs to finish charging.
I'm saying he never hands it over. If I had 1% and I was trying to call 911 because somebody was dying, he might hand it over, depending on the situation. It's a situational thing, but generally I'll say never.
It depends on what's going on. If LSU is playing, I don't have a prayer of getting it. If he's got to make sure he's got battery to watch it later, I'm out of luck. Otherwise, under 20, he'll probably begrudgingly give me the charger.
If Casey was at 90% and you were at 2%, and Casey had 2 chargers, and then the second charger wasn't new, he would probably give you the second charger, I think.
Even when it gets to 100, he still is questionable on giving up his phone charger.
Como time, the infamous Como time.
Definitely invented by Cindy Como.
My mom would put us to bed really late, and then my dad would get home at like 11:30 or something for lunch, and we'd still be asleep. So I'm pretty sure my mom just instilled Como time so she wouldn't have to go to bed early and get up early.
What is Como time? That's simple. It's 45 minutes past real time.
It was originally Bilodeau time, but it got pegged Como time because of my name. But you know, that all stems from Casey's mother.
It's fashionably late, you know, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes.
She was fashionably late, I would put it, while we were dating, and that probably turned into just being late. So
I could always really speak for Casey the most, and now Chris after this past weekend. It's another time zone. Like, seriously, it's just like a delay. So whatever you plan on setting, if you want to have like a dinner party or something at 6:30, you better tell them 5 o'clock. You know, it's at least an hour and a half difference between there, it feels like.
One funny thing with Como time, when we were dating, you know, I would go and pick her up for a date, and she was never ready. So I'd spend time on the couch, sitting there with her dad, you know, watching TV or whatever, and so, you know, wanting to find something to do, I'd always pick up a magazine. They always had National Geographic, so I was constantly reading National Geographics at their house. So I read a lot of National Geographics while we were dating, and her mom and dad took that to mean that I really liked National Geographic. So after we were married, I was given as a gift a long-term prescription to National Geographic, and I have several years of magazines in my basement today.
It's hard for me to put into words what I like most or what I think is the most incredible thing about Casey and Shelby's relationship, because I'm so inspired by it, and I don't even know how to quantify what it is, but it's so rare to see two people that are so true to themselves and so true to each other at the same time, especially considering how young they were when they met. So I don't know what it is. All I can say is I really hope I have it and find it one day, and I just am grateful to be watching their journey because they're the two most amazing people, and I love them.
From what I've seen from Casey and Shelby's relationship that makes them a good couple together, there's a lot of things, but one thing particularly stands out to me, and it's happiness. Casey is one of those people who I can't even think of a time when I've ever seen him unhappy, and it radiates off of him in such a way that you can't help but to be happy around him. Shelby is one of those types of people where making people happy is exactly what she lives for. Whenever she's around, everybody's got to be happy, and she will do whatever it takes because she has that big of a heart. And I think personally that that's something that's extremely rare to find, and what an amazing thing to be able to connect on with another person. You know, I think that's really special.
Something that makes Shelby and Casey a good pair is, I remember it was one of the first times I ever went to Shelby's house. I remember going upstairs to her fabulous pink canopy room, and just to the left of her bed was this big piece of paper, and I was like, just kind of like looking around, because that's just what you do when you go to somebody's house and you've never been there before. And it was this list that Casey had wrote her. It was like 50 things I love about Shelby, and I was like, oh my God, they are so cute already, and I don't even know him.
Honestly, I've never seen two people that have as much fun in life. Casey, I don't think I've ever seen him you know, negative about anything. He always sees the positives, and Shelby's the same way. They have fun. They make fun out of a basic Saturday. They're always doing different things. some extravagant and some not. And I think that's the cool part about them, is that they can you know, dress up and do the whole you know, fancy thing, and then turn around and be you know, hiking or playing spike ball or whatever. They have fun together, and I really think that they always have, and that's been a huge thing for them.
Shelby and Casey are the perfect couple for each other because they work together as a partnership. They are so respectful and love each other, and they are such a team, and their love is pretty admirable. I love seeing them as a couple and seeing them grow over the past 7 years. It's been pretty astonishing.
I think they just have a lot of compatible qualities. Casey, I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person to say that he's indecisive, and so Shelby brings a lot of that direction into Casey's life. And then Casey, he's just that calm, cooling, caring presence that I think anybody needs, and so that's great as well. I think they just really go perfectly together and kind of play to each other's strengths.
They love deeply, they care about family, they care about religion, and they just are meant to be. They fit together beautifully.
You know, what I really find special with them is that they were together at such a young age, different high schools, graduated high school, went to different colleges, and now they're working. So they have grown through a lot of change, as everybody knows. When you're young and you go through the 20s, your 20s, you start changing a bunch. But they have been together through all that change, and I think that's pretty special, and it really takes a strong relationship to do that. So kudos to the...
Casey and Shelby have a special relationship. They are so right for each other. I think because first and foremost, they enjoy each other's company. They seem to laugh and enjoy what they're doing and just be best of friends, but at the same time, they obviously love each other and are lovers. If they can keep those two things going their whole life, they're just going to have a truly storybook marriage.
So I think one of the best things about Shelby and Casey's relationship is that there's not just one thing that you can kind of pinpoint and you're like, that's why they're together. I love that they love each other for their strengths and for their weaknesses, and that they always have each other's back no matter what. And I think that's a mark of a really strong relationship.
Since Casey and Shelby have been together, the thing that I think is kind of a testament to how good their relationship is how they bring out very playful and patient sides of each other, because Casey can get really annoying really fast if he's in the right mood to be. And Shelby likes things her way, but when they're around each other, they kind of like give each other a hard time and play along to each other's jokes, and like, I don't know, I haven't seen anybody bring out this good a side of Casey before. So
you hear people say, like, I want what they have, and that's something that people want, is what Casey and Shelby have. They mesh so well together, and it's honestly been so much fun watching them go from high school to now, and they're freaking getting married.
I think what I've seen in the 7 years I've known Shelby and Casey that make them so good together is just mutual respect for each other, and just how much fun they always have together. Anytime you bring up the other to one of them, their face just lights up, and I think what more could you ask for in a life partner?
You know, you guys just seem to you guys are best friends, you know, and it's great. It's awesome to see you guys when you guys are together, you know. I don't know what else to say at this point. You guys make sense. I mean, you know, you just make sense.
So my advice for them in their marriage: invite me over a lot for dinner or any meal ever that they want to.
I think you guys are sort of role models for anybody in love.
And there's a lot of us looking up to you, and we're counting on you guys to keep being yourselves, because you're so wonderful. So
keep doing what you're doing, keep having fun.
Just to stay the same. I mean, always to have fun, because obviously life's going to throw a lot of curveballs at you, and different jobs, different things, kids, hopefully way down the road. Casey, come on. But
it's Colossians 3:14, and it says, above all of your virtues, put on love, which binds you together in perfect unity. Love y'all.
I did Google this one before I came here, and I read that you should never go to sleep mad at each other. So I'm going to say that, never go to sleep mad at each other.
Something that they already do, and it's something that I really admire about them as a couple, is that they just never stop dating. And I think that's one of the best things you can do in a relationship, and I think that's one of the reasons they're going to be successful.
Hug and kiss each other as much as you can.
Respect one another, and if they could, every night pray together, and it will keep them happy and healthy in their relationship forever.
I would tell them to make sure that they take time to catch their breath, spend time with one another through date nights, through any kind of time to where they can just be with one another, and make sure that they keep what's important to them, and that's spending time together.